Welcome to Section 10 of the BJCP Training Program from the Brewers Anonymous Homebrew Club. In this lesson, we're going to be covering Wort Production. But before we start, it's been a while since we reiterated this, so let's remind ourselves this episode and this series is not affiliated with, nor endorsed or checked by the BJCP, the AHA, or any other organizations discussed in any episodes of this series. In this lesson, we're going to start covering Wort Production, and we're starting with Lesson 1, the Introduction to Wort Production. We're going to discuss what exactly wort is and take a look at how the rest of this section is going to be broken down. So, let's get started. If you've been through Section 6 of this program, the section covering the brewing process, this is where we're going to expand on a lot of the steps that were mentioned more than once during those lessons. If you're an experienced brewer, however, you probably already know a lot of these steps very well. In fact, you very well likely have some alternative versions of these processes that you prefer and even find more effective in your brewing. Now, I say that as a lead-in to remind us all, once again, this course covers the material that we need to know for the exam. Our personal practices may differ, but the fact remains, the exam covers some more long-standing traditional methods developed over literal centuries, and that's the information we are going to be asked about on these exams. So with all that, let's start off with the word wort. What is wort? According to the Oxford English Dictionary, wort is defined as the sweet infusion of ground malt or other grain before fermentation used to produce beer and distilled malt liquors. Another more basic way to describe it is as unfermented beer. It's everything we put into making beer before we add the yeast. It's comprised of everything we've talked about in the past three sections: water, malts and adjuncts, and hops. But you're not just going to be adding water, malts, and hops in a fermenter all at once and start fermenting the beer. I mean, I suppose you could and still get some resemblance of beer, but you're probably not going to like it. If you're looking to create a specific style of good quality beer, there's a process to get this combination of ingredients to their ideal state for fermentation. And that's what wort production is, and that's what this section covers. So let's take a quick look at what this section is covering. Wort production is comprised of several steps. It starts with mashing. Mashing can also include several steps of its own. Those steps can include an acid rest, a protein rest, the starch conversion or saccharification rest, and the mash out. While not every wort produced will need all of these steps in their production, any one or more of these subjects could appear on our entrance exam. There's also several mashing processes we'll need to be familiar with: single step infusion or a step mash, and decoction mash. Now, mashing is going to be the largest part of this section, but this section is not limited to mashing. There are more steps that we'll need to know and we will cover, starting with lautering, continuing with boiling, then on to chilling, and finally, we will wrap up this section on wort production with fining. So we've got quite a bit of material to cover in this section, so let's get started with talking about mashing in our next lesson, and I will see you there.